Hello everybody. I have another part of the Sew for the Soul book project to share with you today, and this will be pages, I've just got it written down here, pages 7 and 8. Now I did not put a video up on what I did last week because last week was joining pages together and different ways you can do that. And I've decided I'm not joining my pages together just yet. I'll wait until further in the project to do that in case I want to add a little bit more beading or something like that at some stage. But I did go ahead and attach a little bit of lace in some places, and then between the pages I have started to add bits of doily and things like that, which is what I would normally do with a fabric book anyway, but I just haven't joined them together. So that's pages, let's get that in the center, that's pages 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and some of you may recall last week I changed these things around. Well, I changed them a little bit more. I think that one had a much darker button in the center, and I removed that and put the lighter one over there and put a couple of Suffolk puffs. I called into a little patchwork shop on the way after seeing my mother and just picked up a tiny little bit of purple fabric to add a bit more purple to the page, which is a colour I don't normally work with, and I quite like the way that ended up. And so then I needed to add a couple more pages because I was running out of room, and so I did that. But because I've added this bit of doily, because they'll be sandwiched together, I actually ended up accidentally skipping a page, and so I've got a spare page, so I'll have to go back to that page at some stage. So this is page number 7 and 8. So just let me make that a bit more flat so you can see it. So this is page 7 and 8. And this time around we were weaving fabrics. And I will put a link to that video for this particular page in the description box below, because it's easier if you watch the video than for me to try and explain exactly what she was saying. It's basically you cut some strips of fabric. I didn't cut mine, I ripped mine. So I have lots of frayed edges, which I wanted that kind of look. So I just ripped strips of fabric up. And they were kind of into different, I'm trying to see if I've got a cut, oh here we go. I didn't do them to an exact width. See, I've got that one which is quite narrow like that. That one was a bit wider. I used a bit of that linen which frays beautifully. Some that was even skinnier, and some that was wider again. So that's what I did for mine. And it wasn't a perfect woven page, like it's not all completely perfect. Some places like this one here, instead of going out and under and out again, you were to leave a couple of places perhaps where it was both out, just to add a bit of contrast to it. But I will put a link to that video. It's easier if you watch Anne, who is Anne Brooks, who is doing this project, if you watch what she says. And then you were to add, what was it, weaving fabric strips, adding a few little like multimedia type things like safety pins and buttons and little bits. I think she added a belt buckle or something like that. But anyway, that's what you were to do. So I've got a lovely, really quite old, imperfect mother of pearl button there. A couple of other buttons. That's a wooden button with flowers on that I thought would kind of bring the eye over that way a little bit. And then just some like older buttons. They're not like vintage, but, you know, they're not brand new either. Some stitches. I think she said to try either a favourite stitch or a new stitch. So I tried feather stitch, and that's the first time I've actually done feather stitch. So it's not perfect. So that was my first bit, and that was my second bit there. So I got to try that. And I think that might have been it. I did add a little bit of doily because all my other pages have a doily on them. And this particular piece here is actually, it's very windy outside today. That's why the dogs are barking. One's my dog, one's the neighbour's dog. Part of the inside of this doily here, and it looked like a butterfly, so I put that on there, and I've attached that on with lots and lots of French knots. So I'll just show you up close. Lots of frayed edges. I have some pistol stitch. I have some straight stitching. I have French knots, lots of French knots. I have this little seed stitch here. And so cross stitching. Lots more French knots. I need to get a green thread. I don't have a green thread, so I can go over the green with some French knots there as well. And more cross stitching, and that's actually lace that's stitched on with a light blue embroidery thread, and I did that over there as well. And I really like, I think my most favourite part is just this little piece here. I really love that with the cross stitch and the lace and the ticking fabric. I just, like, if I was to put that like that, I love that. Out of the whole page, that would be my favourite bit. So that's pages 7 and 8 for the Sew for the Soul book by Anne Brooke. And like I said, I will put a link to her channel in the description box below. I'll put a link to the very first Sew for the Soul book video, and also to this particular video for the weaving. And I ended up taking most of my tacking stitches out, but there may be a little bit trapped underneath some of the things. And part of it was over the weaving, you could put a piece of fabric, so just to break up that perfect weave look. And so in places, this is the back fabric, and I've just placed a floral piece over the top of the weaving and stitched that down. And that's the same with this blue piece here under the butterfly. It was just placed over the top of the weaving. And so I have added bits of doily, like I said. I haven't added any beading to my trims yet because I'm finding when I'm stitching, I don't want to get caught up in too many things. Like, as it is, you get your corners caught up in the threads and things like that. And I am sewing it in a book form rather than a loose page. So I will leave any beading until the book is pretty much complete, I think, just to keep it so I don't get too tangled up along the way. So I hope you enjoyed that. I've put another page at the back here as well, so that's an extra page, and that's how it's looking. It's looking quite scrumptious, isn't it? And with this one, like, I've only put the doily down the bottom, so it leaves me a bit of space to add different things as I go along, as I rummage through and find things, or Anne puts up different ideas that I might not have thought of, or something like that. See, that one's got another doily around it there, and this one has a bit of this same doily on it, and then the rest of it, like this L shape here, is a different doily again. So, and I've just tacked those on so they don't go all the way through, and they will be joined together like that. at a later date, but like I said, I'm still not ready to join them together yet. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that, and do pay Anne a visit. She comes up with some really good ideas for things like this. So thank you everybody for stopping by and watching, and take care. Bye.